Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another wonderful tasting of the Virtual Tasting Society. Today, we're excited to welcome back one of my personal favorite brands and one of my personally favorite people in the industry. Amanda Beckwith is here with Virginia Distillery Company. Since we last spoke with Amanda a couple of years ago, she has a new fancy title. You are now Director of Liquid Magic or something?
That's exactly it.
Oh, perfect.
You make
Okay,
sure
got
that
it.
goes
I
on my
got it.
cards.
Okay. Amanda is the blender from Virginia Distillery Company. I don't want to talk too much about Virginia because Amanda can do a much better job than I can. I had the pleasure and honor of visiting the distillery last year with one of our members who is not on today for some reason, but we got an amazing tour. We tasted some really spectacular whiskeys, and I think you're all in for a treat. Today we have six of their kind of easier, more accessible expressions that we're excited to try and I'm excited to learn about. And hopefully, we show Amanda a good time and we can get her back in for some cast strength stuff for next time. But all that said, Amanda, thank you so much for making the time for us. I know you are very busy traveling the world and promoting, yeah, and just American single malt in general. But please tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about the brand and tasties.
Heck yes. I'm so happy to be here with you guys and ask all the questions, say all the things. It's going to be fun just getting into the whiskey and all of that. I love that so many of you are single malt fans and Scotch fans because that's kind of my story. I always loved traveling and eating and drinking wherever I went, and the idea of really experiencing a place through whiskey grabbed me. And when you tie in like all the history and culture that comes with it, it was just really inspiring to me. I never knew that blending was a career option, so I fell into it through tourism. I worked at the Virginia Aquarium when I was an undergrad, and right until, a little while after I graduated. And so they were building this visitor center to go with the distillery back in the early 20 aughts, and I heard about it and sent my resume over with a cover letter. And before I knew it, I was hired to be their guest experience manager, building the visitor center, hiring a team, training them. And that's when I kind of set myself on a journey to go to Scotland and Kentucky and travel and learn as much as I could about whiskey so I could train the tour guides and the bartenders. And then it became the distributors. It was a really cool journey because I realized how generous people were in the industry. And so I have a handful of spiritual grandpas that we brought over from Scotland to get our distillery up and running, and they all really took me under the wing and trained me a lot. And then Nancy Fraley from California and the brandy side of things came into the scene and very quickly like inspired me and saw promise in me. So I'm grateful to the giants whose shoulders I got to stand on. And that's kind of my entry into this world a decade ago.
Wow, that's awesome. That's fantastic. It's everybody finds their way into this spirits world kind of in a different path, and it's awesome. It's awesome that we all get to meet from these paths that no probably would not have crossed otherwise.
True. Yeah.
So we
And
have six expressions in front of us. We can dive into what is Virginia. We can say pour something. You tell us how you want to run this.
I love
For those of
this.
you following along at home, you want to just say the order out loud because they can't see the chat, and then people can line them up and have six glasses in front of them and taste side by
Perfect.
side and all that jazz.
Yeah, we'll start with the cider cask finished whiskey. Then we'll go into the Blue Ridge toasted barrel and then the Cabernet. And then we're going to jump away from the finishing to go to double cask reserve, which is just courage and conviction on the labels, I believe. And then we're going to do port cask reserve. Actually, we might switch that port before the double cask reserve. And then we'll end with our bottled and bond 100 proof Goose Island Stout cask finish. So I'll say those again before we go into them. But yeah, if you've got the cider poured, I would say start nosing, tasting, and I'll get into the history of our distillery while you nose and taste that. And then I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. It's kind of exciting because some of you might have had this in a different version. When our distillery was getting started, we brought over whiskey distilled and aged in Scotland. The idea was let's get people falling in love with the thing we're in love with, malted barley, and showing off the Virginia style and what is our sense of place. So we brought over a 6 year minimum aged whiskey. Most of it was 12 to 15-year old single malt, not Scotch, because we brought it over and moved it into casks to finish. And we started teaspooning our own whiskey in, and then over the years increased the ratio until finally with the label change, it is 100% ours. So it is now an American single malt instead of an American blended malt. And why cider? Which is kind of a unique one to do. And in fact, you can't even do this in Scotland. We knew we wanted to tell the story of old world meets new. So, with my background training, especially with Nancy Fraley, brandy was an easy thought. So, I brought over Calvados casks from Normandy, France, and Laird's, which does apple brandy here in the States, has their distillery in North Garden, Virginia, very close to my distillery. So got some beautiful, very fresh casks from them, and that was my old world, new world. And then our distillery is situated on 100 acres, most of it's trees, and a lot of it used to be orchards, apple orchards, and they even used to distill brandy and other things on site there, illicitly. And so now we're doing legally what was done, decades and decades before in a canvas tent under the trees. So the cider cask really does tell that story, and we're surrounded by orchards to this day. They're incredible cideries that do very beautiful dry style ciders that I love. Albemarle Cider Works, Potter's Cider, Buskey Cider. I work with all of them. And especially Potter's has been with us really since our very first release of this when it got, I believe it was number 13 in Whiskey Advocate's top 20 whiskeys that year. So it was supposed to be a seasonal limited release. I wanted it to tell a story, and sometimes I think there's a lot of pressure to have the aroma exactly match the palate of a whiskey. And I like to make it more like this is the opening chapter title or even the cover of the book, kind of leading you in, and then you have this whole journey. And so the cider cask for me is definitely that. On the aroma, I usually get green apple and pear and honeysuckle and vanilla. And then on the palate, it morphs into baked apple and cinnamon and pecan. So I'll turn it over to you guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts and any questions.
So I was just typing this in, but now I get to say it. I don't have to finish typing. This is just so easy to drink. I can see this over ice as a summer drink, but I can also see putting this in a hot toddy,
Yes.
part of a winter drink. And I think it's the apple, right?
Yes.
Apple, you can drink it cold or hot, and it, works in with an anyway. Gosh, this one's if this is the start, the rest are going to be very dangerous. I can tell you.
That makes me happy. I rarely do cocktails, and this one I wrote two cocktails called Sweater Weather. And it's you make the same thing. It's a brown sugar simple syrup. You can throw a cinnamon stick in there and make it a little more autumnal and spicy, which I recommend. And yeah, you can turn it into a toddy with cider. And it's warm and mulled, and that whiskey aroma just really comes out of it. Or if you want it more subtle, I always do a little bit of lemon juice too. I jump up the lemon juice and blend it over ice with a good fresh local cider, and it's like a sangria slushy, which I really wouldn't do. I want the whiskey to be neat almost all the time, but it really does sing with all those local ingredients. Oh yeah, allspice jam, heck yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's finished. So this whole range of VDC whiskey is all cask finishing. So the whiskey starts out in ex-bourbon barrels and ages for 5 to 6 years. And then I move it over for 1 to 2 years finishing in the cider and brandy casks and then blend it all together. And the lowest ABV that we're working on is 46%, and the whole VDC line is 46.5 or higher. So there's definitely room to dilute it a little bit and still have it shine. Other questions or
So
thoughts?
the VDC line historically was your kind of blended line,
Yes.
and it was
Old
a,
world
at
meets
a lower
new.
purchase point. Now it's all made so you have the Courage and Conviction and the VDC line, and I'm guessing
Yeah.
I'm jumping ahead because you're gonna talk about Courage and Conviction. I just realized,
Yep.
but yeah, that's so this is all your own distillate.
Yes.
This is
Distilled,
amazing.
aged, bottled, all on site. And that's what we've been doing. Like 2015, we started distilling and aging our own whiskey and moving towards, everything being all ours. And 2020 was when we launched the Courage and Conviction line. So it was a long, slow journey with this goal in mind getting there.
Very, very nice whiskey. I have a question. Why the 46.5? I see a lot of 45, a lot of 46. This seems to be like a special number.
It is, yes. So I have two answers to that. I don't like chill filtration, and I really don't like adding caramel color. I know that a lot of lower ABV whiskeys do that just because people
Mhm.
think that darker is older and older is better. I like a really good viscous mouthfeel, and I really don't enjoy stripping any of that away. And when you go lower than 46.3, the odds start to increase for long chain fatty acids to be pulled out of solution, especially in a humid environment or with water addition. So you can think of it like louching and getting cloudy. And so to avoid that, one of the things that people will do is bottle at a higher strength, or at least, that 46%. And that 0.3% is an allowable difference from, TTB standpoint. So yeah, it's a good number, kind of a magical chemistry number, but I like it because I think a lot of people do want to add a little bit of water or have their whiskey on the rocks, and I want to make sure that there's enough alcohol in there with that 46.5 that it's still going to stand up beautifully to that dissolution. And yeah, I like to have a big buffer and I like higher strengths. It's just kind of my personal taste too. Great question. Any others? Shall we move on to the next one?
There's like a sour note to this. I don't know if anybody else got this, or maybe it's power
Mhm.
suggestion because I'm thinking dry cider, but
Yeah,
there's like a nice kind of warm cinnamon toast finish on the end.
yeah. Yeah, it's a journey. It'll keep arcing. And I think that's something true. Anna was talking about this with Westland, and I think it's really fascinating how whiskey can just evolve in the glass. And some of our whiskeys really do that too. So it is always fun for me to leave it and come back to it and see how it's continued to open up and what shows through. So yeah,
This
I
is
like
what
that burnt sugar note.
I'm getting a little
Amanda, if
grapefruit
you
at the end. I'm getting a teeny bit of grapefruit, like a citrus grapefruit
Ooh,
at the end, which is
yes,
nice.
I get an arc of citrus for sure.
And it's got nice tannins, almost like a good bitter, like an apple peel
Hmm.
to it at the end too. That actually makes it very round, not just sugary, not just sweet.
Awesome.
And it lasts. It's still lingering, so that's good. And the mouthfeel, you're right. That's my favorite part. I love that
Yeah.
viscous, very oily. That's oily, they're better for whiskey.
Yes, mouthfeel and finish are so important to me that I usually give separate grades to each of those. I like them to be separated out to make sure I never miss them.
Yep.
Love it. Cool.
so
Well, I'll
Okay,
start talking about. Oh, go ahead.
I have a question about your brandy background.
Oh, yeah.
You've done brandy from apples, correct?
I haven't made it personally, but I've studied. Most of my time was working with cognac and Armagnac, and that's more of Nancy Fraley's background. So my time in France was more that than getting up to Normandy. That's still a goal that I have, working with some Calvados with my hands directly, but most of my hands-on experiences is Armagnac.
Because there is, I bumped into a fellow and up in San Luis Obispo, and he does, they run a winery, but that he also has a little tiny little distill, and he would put apples in and come up with an apple brandy, and
Yeah.
he just does it all by sight and smell. It doesn't have much to measure. It's almost like, backyard moonshine kind of thing. Anyway, he'd run it and he'd start watching and watching and watching, and then suddenly the brandy coming off the still had a darker color to it and a totally
Mm,
different smell. And
yes.
he shut everything off, and he put a different bucket on to capture that, and he tasted it, and it was really cinnamony. And what he learned was that there's, why cinnamon and apple go together so well. There's actually cinnamon flavors in the apple. And when you distill it, it's the last thing that comes off the still before you get into the tails of, with the stuff that you can't drink. And anyway, so it was really fascinating. I was like, VTS should go take a road trip up to San Luis Obispo just to talk to this guy because it was so much fun to talk to him. But anyway, I was thinking that if people are tasting
Mm,
apple, I mean a cinnamon here, it's actually probably they really are tasting it. It's probably in there as part of the cider, you
The
know.
cuts that were made and yeah, and then hopefully accentuated by the time in cask too.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah, there was a tiny place called Woods Mill Distillery in Nellysford, Virginia, and these two guys, Jeff Fletcher and Jim Taggart, went to Scotland and trained there, and then decided to take their Scottish technique into making apple brandy, and they did that for several years. And I went and I actually first bottled with them there, and it's such a cool experience getting to see the old school meeting, local like that. So I'd love to get over there and visit what you were talking about. How neat. All right. Are we moving on to Blue Ridge? I'm just such a fan of these cats walking through. Like they're here in spirit. Next up is one of our newest ones, and it's another really great local story. So Blue Ridge, it's a toasted barrel finish. So same story. Our whiskey aged 5 or 6 years in ex-bourbon barrels and then moved over into new toasted but not charred oak. And these casks were just kind of an experiment that I did. I wanted to use Virginia oak that was sustainably sourced, and this incredible cooperage, West Virginia Great Barrel Company, is like 8 minutes across the border into West Virginia from us. And so I started talking with them, drove out there, played with different toast levels, and they agreed to do 4 different toast styles for me of these incredibly long, seasoned outside in incredible weather staves. And I love these casks. So I was looking for something that was a little more approachable for people who are bourbon drinkers. And I really enjoy that sort of toasted graham cracker marshmallow combo where you're still getting the orchard fruit. And I'm always trying to make sure that our casks don't mask the distillate, so you still get the fermentation esters. So finishing can be a great trick to fix things or cover up things, but I don't treat it that way. I treat it as like, how can this come in and support and harmonize? And so that's kind of my goal. And the casks, the staves were seasoned for 3 years outside, the ones that we selected. So yes, pair for sure. I get that during we do a 3-day, 72-hour ferment. We use 2 different yeast strains, and one of them is just there to do the conversion, but the other one is there for the ester creation. And so you guys can come and visit and walk through those fermentation tanks and just breathe in with me. You're gonna get a lot of that pear.
It's spicy pear. It's got a lot of spice on it too.
Yes. Yeah. I definitely get a lot of more like banana nut bread towards the end, but that first hit is usually green apple and pear for me and apricot. So. And this is another one I would typically do neat, but I've done a couple fun cocktails with it, like a highball or kind of playing up the s'mores thing and doing a s'mores old fashioned. And yeah, there's tart citrus for sure in any of our lighter cask projects. So you should definitely get that little bit of citrus coming through.
Please tell
Where do you
us
get
more about the s'mores old fashioned, please and thank you.
Yeah, I've never heard of
Yes.
that before.
I will find the recipe and send it to Vadim so he can share it with you guys after this. Yeah, it's one of those things where I was like, that feels really on the nose. I don't know. So I was just sitting outside on my back porch sipping, and I thought, like, do I go really citrusy and bring those out, or do I go really decadent? And I just wrote both. So yeah, I used blood orange for the citrus riff, and that was really fun. But I think the s'mores old fashioned was my favorite of the two.
where do you get your barley from?
Ooh, we work with over 600 farmers throughout the North American corridor. So we do some Virginia grown barley. We even try growing some ourselves, but we are not farmers. And between the deer trampling down the barley and just all the rain and the nitrogen levels in our soil are really high, it got really challenging. So we still grow a little off-site and work with local farmers. But most of the farmers are up from Wisconsin to Washington State. The very first 4 months of distilling for us, a decade ago, we were bringing malt over from Scotland and England. But we wanted to go more local after that. So, yeah. And it's all 2 row spring barley. I'm looking at winter varietals for down the road, just to have more options. But the idea is 2 row versus 6 works really well for what we're doing in our style. Oh, I like Jane's note. Yeah. Thank you. It's fun to have this kind of arc and story. And yeah, not a whole lot of barley grown in Virginia. There's kind of a cool story about that. So a lot of farmers in the 1700s were coming in from the UK, and there were a lot of Scots Irish that settled in the Shenandoah Valley and near where our distillery is even. And one of those farmers was James Anderson, who got hired by George Washington to be his farm manager. And Anderson convinced Washington, like, hey, you're consuming a lot of things, spirits, we should be making whiskey here. And so they started out trying to make a single malt whiskey at Mount Vernon. And the rocky soil was just not conducive to growing barley at all. So I believe their first mash bill was 96% rye, 4% barley. And you need the barley for, the enzymatic action. A lot of times, with bourbon, they use exogenous enzymes to kick that off. But in Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Tennessee, all these places, they're pivoting as farmers to grow what works well, either rye or corn typically. So it really was the beer industry that gave us the technology to really do good barley for the first time. And I think that's why it took single malt so long to become a thing. I got really geeky, sorry. Any other thoughts or questions?
Please don't apologize for getting geeky with us. We love it. Keep go geekier.
Fabulous.
A little bit of water brings out even more marshmallow. So
Yes.
definitely can handle the water.
That should be true for
Can
all
you
of
talk a
ours.
little bit? Can you talk a little bit about the character of the Virginia oak?
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
that where the sweet coming from?
Yeah, there's a lot of really great lactone and vanillin content in the oak that we use, which is really great. We can kind of monitor through the toasting duration how things like furfural will develop. So we're not looking so much for a nutty, rich, decadent wood influence on this one. We're trying to create a better balance. So yeah, I think there's a lot more of lactones and vanillins coming through from this Virginia oak, which is the style that we wanted. So it's really fascinating to see. Just the story behind the cooperage is they were built after there was some massive flooding in West Virginia, and they were building houses and hiring the locals. And they wanted to keep them employed after all those houses were built. So they pivoted to making barrels with the trees right there that they've been cutting down to build the homes. So that was their first foray into it. And the trees just happened to do really fantastically. So they fell into it as well. Any other questions? I'm reading the thoughts. Love it.
This is just like I said, okay, if the cider was great, right? And I just thought, okay, well, it's only going to get better. Well, this one is better. And I mean, I don't know, is it better or is just as good? And there's something about this one that is, I don't know, there's just something like a big old warm hug. I mean, I don't know.
Yes.
I,
That's what I
I, I
want.
think it's a little smoother. It's
Hmm.
probably easier to drink, but I also think it's a little sweeter. And I mean, it's too sweet for me. Of the two, I prefer the first one, but I mean, it's I wouldn't refuse a pour. That's for sure.
It's a really fun challenge to make diverse whiskeys from the same distillate and showcase different styles. So
Right.
I'm really excited to see at the end what people's favorites are and what they gravitate towards. Because it's exactly the same whiskey coming off our two copper pot stills. It's water, yeast, and barley, double distilled in copper pot stills. And then all of the ones that you've had so far are aged in ex-bourbon barrels for at least 5 years. So their DNA is identical. It's just what I get to do for the last year or two of its life that makes it different.
And which is one of the things I find immensely fascinating in whiskey is you can start with the same thing, right, and depending on how you do, take a left turn here, a right turn here, right, you end up in very different places.
Yeah.
So this one is just finished in the Virginia oak.
Yes. Yeah. It's aged in ex-bourbon barrels from Woodford Reserve and Wild Turkey and possibly a handful of Willet.
Okay. And so all of these are, you use the same yeast and
Yes.
basically the same barley, etc. You don't
Yes.
even, you're not even trying to play with different types of barley or different types of yeast.
No, when we were getting started, we did. We had almost 2 years of trialing out different yeast strains, fermentation times, different strike temperatures. We played with a lot of stuff. And now with the barley, what we do is because we work with 600 different farmers and use brewer supply groups, we'll get a certificate of analysis, and I'll just read the COA, or Dustin Castor, our distillery director, will read it through and say, yes, we want this. We know it's the quality we want and just move forward. So we're pretty consistent. And yeah, Adam just asked, can you talk a bit about what you think the base character backbone of VDC single malt is before finishing? And so I was pressured early on to create a description for what our house style was. And I settled on orchard fruit and spice. And that orchard fruit is exactly what the base character of our new make distillate should be. So I want something very consistent because I have a lot of levers I get to pull on the back end. So it's really helpful for me dialing in to have a very consistent distillate. We do play around sometimes, especially for, different side projects. So we'll do chocolate malt or something, but for me and our core ranges, that's not what I'm going for. And so, yeah, having that balance where I know that our core is going to shine through and not be masked is really important. I do like new oak, but for primary maturation, I don't want to ever rely on that to have it dominate and overshadow the barley for what I'm doing in my style. So, yeah. Oh, yes, I like that comment of if you had the base 5 year.
I mean,
Um,
it would be very interesting, especially at tastings.
Yeah.
yeah, we
And
we
you
have
set
that.
yourself up for that one because Henrik and I had the same exact reaction.
You can try our Courage and Conviction bourbon cask, and that is pretty much it. It's just I select, really premium barrels, and maybe it's a little bit older. It's typically in the 7 to 8 year range. So just finding probably the best way to do it would be like a single cask release that I did young. I did one with Scotch for Dummies that we just sold through our visitor center, and they wanted something that was like, what is the most straightforward window into what you make before any contact. So yeah, that would probably be your best bet there. But yeah, it's hard for me to release something before I think it's perfect, and I'm always aiming to be better. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's hard to release before I think it's
Um,
ready. And
I mean, we all been to tastings where there's one of them that comes in a plastic gallon jug, right? That's not available to the general public. But we are very special people, so we
Well,
get to try some of this stuff.
right, and we also get the white the unaged
Mhm.
whiskey sometimes and they just bring it out for the tastings.
Yep.
So so we're not suggesting that you bottle the 5 year without any type of finish. We're just saying it would be very interesting to include it in some tastings.
Vadim, I might
I'm
send you a
in.
bottle.
I'm in. Let's do it. I will say,
Okay.
anyone that comes to my house this Saturday, if you remind me, I may have some 122 proof White Dog from Virginia. Just
I
might
trusted you
have
with
some
that.
stashed away.
That's great. Yeah, that's a fun point. So we fill our casks now at 125 proof, which is the highest legal entry proof for American whiskey. We didn't always do that. We used to fill at 120, but because Virginia is so humid in the breathing in and out that's happening in our cask houses, we're, yes, having a lot of angel share, so the alcohol's evaporating out, but we're also having whiskey come in. And so if you come across any of our single cask picks, odds are they're not at 62.5. Our average natural ABV after 8 or 9 years of aging is 59% ABV. So we're incredibly humid where we are. I love that because I like the natural reduction in cask. I think it's pretty cool and very different from some of the other places making single malt in the US. So it's fun to kind of compare and contrast.
Amanda, I see that Lagavulin behind you. You're gonna have a smoke version coming up?
Ooh, that's funny. So I have a marketing director who hates smoke and peat and is always crushing my dreams. But I literally have a call with him tomorrow and I'm going to try again. So wish me luck. I do have a handful of fun experimental casks, and some of them are smoked.
And
And
are you
If
getting
you'd like
those
if you'd
casts
like
from,
signatures for the If you'd like signatures for the petition, let us know, Amanda.
I might take you up on that.
And
So yeah.
would you source out like Isla barrels, or where would you, do you have a connection on Isla,
May
or
I
where would you get?
suggest an American single malt that happens to be peated, borrowing their barrels from someone we may mutually know?
There's
A
some
collaboration of American
beautiful
single malts.
peated, yes, there are some incredible peated ASMs. So you've got Westland, you've got McCarthy's. Yeah, it's really cool to try and see how beautifully they've done it. So I would want my approach to be different. And yeah, I do have a lot of ties to Isla. One of my three spiritual grandpas is Harry Coburn, who is, I don't know if you can see the picture, he's on the right. And he was the engineer at Bowmore, um, really through the early 80s. So he was distillery manager at the end and then turned things over. But I
So he
got
was
some
hanging out
really
with Jim McEwen, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did get a cast from Jimmy Keown, but that was from a different distillery that he went to after.
So
Um,
lucky.
yes.
So, so
It-
Amanda, the group here is gonna laugh, but I actually DM'd Jane and I said, I'm not gonna say this out loud, but I think this particular one, and that was the Blue Ridge. I said,
Mhm.
I think this particular one would actually be amazing if it were aged in the right peated cask.
I agree.
I think Lagavulin,
Where's Kate? What did you do to her?
I think Lagavulin and Lefroy are probably not the right ones. I think they would wash everything out. But you're the expert. You know this way better than I. I actually think like a Bowmore or something, a Highland peated might be okay. Everybody,
No,
Highland.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I have a colleague who just hit his ninth anniversary, and I made a special blend for him, and I included some of the peat, and he's losing his mind over it because it's his palate too. So wish me luck. I think it'd be really fun.
Okay,
And
but the thing is,
yeah.
it's not my palate at all, which is why the group is laughing. Right.
Okay, but you
I
see
do
the
not like
potential.
peat, but I see the potential there. That's yeah.
Yeah. And being delicate, like it doesn't need to be the first thing, but just that whiff of smoke is something I really adore. Yeah. Oh. I used to incorporate just a tiny little bit of that in our port cask just because it really spoke to me and I was sourcing from Scotland, so it was easier and I missed that. Not gonna lie. Are we onto the Cabernet cask? Brilliant. Yes, I'll keep you guys posted. So the Cabernet cask is a fun one. I love all these posts. These comments are awesome. I should take a picture and send it to my marketing guy. Look. So the Cabernet, the idea was, again, old world meets new. How are we going to do that? So I had spent some time in France, really liked some beautiful Bordeaux's, also really love some California cabs. So how do I get complexity working with two very different styles? So after the whiskey had aged about 6 years, I moved it into two different cask types. I got 80 casks over from Jordan Winery, and they're all cab sauv, and they were beautiful. So I left the whiskey in there for about 18 months. Same thing, Chateau Palmer from Bordeaux. Brought those over and moved the whiskey in, and such different styles. From the New World, I get, of course, the red fruit, but also some citrus, which I really enjoyed, almost like blood orange. And then from Chateau Palmer, it was more of the dried dark fruit and some leather and nuttiness. So I was really at that point thinking, like, I just want a dessert, like decadent dark chocolate with this. And yeah, I loved being able to tell that story. And so, yeah, this one is one of our newest ones. It's only been out for a year and mostly just in Virginia at first. So it's made its way to California now. It's getting out there and it's won
Well,
some nice awards.
my being the main man in here that is a wino, okay,
Oh,
I really appreciate this. I am in Oregon in the Willamette Valley, so you
oh,
know,
you're in Mecca. Yeah.
yeah. So when it comes to wine, it's my thing. I got a whole cellar full of wine, and I mean a cellar full of wine,
I
not
love
just a
it.
little thing. So
when are we all
whiskey for
invited?
me is a new thing, and I love to see how whiskey and wine has come together. The first experience I had with that was with Westward. Um,
Yeah.
and they gave me a port cask that was just awesome, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I got to look at this stuff. So, and of course, my son, who all these people here know, Michael, is turned me on to whiskey as well because he is a huge whiskey fan. So here I am. But anyway, yeah, I
That's
just thought
so
I'd throw
cool.
that out there. Yeah.
I love that. That makes me so happy because, yeah, wine is such a great world for bringing in the whole experience, the food pairings, and the really slowing down and enjoying. And that's what speaks to me a lot about whiskey, too. So I think there's a lot of cohesiveness between them, especially the tannins, which was being called out in the comments, too. And that's really
Yeah,
important to
I mean,
me.
I never thought I would have whiskey with a meal, but I learned to really enjoy whiskey with a meal. So it's kind of weird, but it was always wine for me. But I now do both.
I think about food all the time. I think Vadim and Anna know this about me. So I always have pairings, and when I'm creating a whiskey, I'm thinking about that. So yeah, the steak, absolutely. Like the cider cask finish, I do more like charcuterie. I love doing baked brie and puff pastry, drizzling honey on top, Granny Smith apples, candied walnuts, and that cider cask. But if we're here with this, like the chocolate mousse is so spot on, but also going into duck. Or yeah, it's so fun and yeah, it's an endless journey for me that never gets old. All right. We're getting there. We've been talking about port, so this is a really good entry into the port cask finish. And again, old world meets new. This whiskey ages in ex-bourbon barrels, 5 or 6 years, and then spends 1 to 2 years in ruby or tawny ports from Portugal. My trick there is tawny, older, nuttier, more of that, leather old library that I love. But the ruby port's more luscious and red fruit forward, which I also really like. And then I give away roughly 60% of my used barrels to breweries, wineries, cideries, and I like to trade them back and forth. And there are a handful of really cool Virginia wineries near me. And so one of our barrel programs has been doing a port-styled wine from King Family and Veritas. And some of these casks are crazy. They started out at like Buffalo Trace for King Family, and then they made their 7 port-style wine and put it in there. Then they sent the casks to us. There's been a whole like sometimes these casks have 7 or 8 different lives, and it's really cool to get those introduced because they're local, so they're fresh. And I'm all about avoiding sulfur and making sure the staves are very well hydrated. And yeah, having an 18 to 20 minute commute for those casks to get to me and immediately get filled is really great. So yeah, any thoughts about the port cask?
So so you said it's a mix of tawny and ruby, right? I mean, because
Yes.
you can't do them interchangeably. That's going to be too different.
I use them all. So I will get a ratio going
Yeah.
and yeah, my job is to finesse it and get it there for the different layers because I don't want it to be one dimensional. And yeah, it's funny too because in Portugal, I feel like everybody's like, oh, they have strong feelings about whether they're a tawny person or a ruby person. And then you see them hang out and the tawny lovers are drinking the rubies and you're like, really? I lucked out. One of our early mentors was Dr. Jim Swan, and he was only around for the first really year that we were aging our whiskey, even before we had much age up. But he connected me to Jade Diaz in Portugal and a gentleman named Marco Mutino who helped create a cast type with him. And Marco still lives in Portugal most of the time. Occasionally, he's in France, and he'll ping me when we're getting like a bunch of tailors port casks are coming in and he'll say they're going to be dumped next week. Do you want them? I'll be like, yes, immediately. So it's really great to have those relationships. I think that saves the day again and again, and the quality wouldn't be there without the really great casks.
I mean, this is absolutely fantastic. I mean, I'm a one of my favorite drams, if I want something easy, is a Redbreast PX cask. Um, and I also have the Tawny port cask, right, which is very distinct.
Hmm.
And I don't get that the Tawny only, right? I mean, this just seems very well balanced, and it's not overly sweet. There's a little bit of sweetness, but not too much. I'm a fan of this one. Not gonna lie.
I'm so glad.
It's funny though
Yeah.
that you didn't want to do one or the other because you were worried about dimensionality. And Henrik just mentioned tawny. I actually think your whiskeys would go very nicely with tawny. So obviously you've played with this
Yes.
because so you know that it's more flat than you want it to be and less complex. But I just think that the nuttiness would be an interesting thing.
It's lovely. It's just different. And I love bringing in that red fruit note just to it gives an impression of more well-rounded whiskey to me. So yeah, it's interesting to go different routes and see what speaks to different people too. But yeah, I love
Do you do
leveraging.
do you do the blending? Do you age in a tawny cask and age in a ruby, and then you blend them at the end?
Yes, yeah, I age and finish everything separately, make my selections. I do a little prototype on a small scale, make sure I like it, and then I blend everything in and do a slow reduction down to its final bottling strength.
Okay, so I'm gonna pile on again with the
Yeah.
whole be interesting for a tasting to taste the tawny and taste the ruby before you blend it, and then of course afterwards as well. And
Yeah.
just for tasting purposes, not for bottling purposes.
I've been
Yeah.
talking. We need to have Amanda back way more
Yes.
often than once every 2 years. Because
We have
like
so many options.
when she was on the first time, I was like, "Can we taste all the sheep?" We did the Courage and Conviction line,
Yep.
and I was like, "Can we taste all the different barrels?" That like, because she mentioned she got like 6 sherry types and a bunch of other things, and I'm like, "Can we try all the parts and do a deconstruction?" And she was like, "Yeah." And then we never put it together, and now like 3 years later, you have like 26 bottles on the website, and I don't know where to start. And I'm like, I want to taste them all, everything from New Make to day one. Yeah.
It's yeah, it's really hard to stop creating new things when it's like, oh, what about this and what about that? And sherry, I went down such a sherry rabbit hole. And we do a crazy thing where we do primary maturation in our sherry cask. So for those of you who were on the first tasting I did with Courage and Conviction, that's all new make whiskey going into the cask. It ages in there, then I do a blend, then I bottle. So there's no finishing for anything in the Courage and Conviction line. So yeah, now's a great time to clear your palate. We're gonna do a big pivot. So drink water, take a breather for a minute, because it'll be very different. And yeah, I was not aware of any sherry aged single malts before us. That was something that I had not seen in Scotland. It was always finishing. And so, yeah, there are definitely places that do it. We were one of the first single malts to really dig into all the different sherry cask types, and that was because Dr. Jim Swan said, get every sherry cask type you can and just see what works for you. And so I assumed Oloroso and PX sherries would be the really popular one, but I fell in love with Fino. It was a late bloomer for us, took a while, but they started having this like Honey Nut Cheerio note that I really fell in love with. So while I do have a blended Courage and Conviction sherry cask that has Fino, Olo, and PX aged whiskey blended together, I also do single casks every year just of the specific Fino, Olo, or PX ones that I love the best. And then I've done separate Amontillado and Tio Pepe releases just at our visitor center.
So there is a Tio Pepe Fino Sherry Cask bottle on your website that I'm drooling over right now, but it's club members only. How do we join your club?
Oh, you just do it through our website and then it should be able to send to you.
Okay, it says
Yeah,
Courage Club exclusive. So can we get
yes.
it? Do we have your permission to join the club, please?
Yes, you do. Yeah, so every year I get to, well, actually every quarter for Courage Club, I do crazy blends. And there's some of the most insane things ever. So I've done white burgundy, which I thought was really pretty. And that, of course, Chardonnay varietal from France. I've done the Tio Pepe Fino that just came out. And I'm working on a Pommeau. So we'll see how that comes together. And I'm working on a Spanish oak. So we'll see. And that had both Oloroso and PX in it. And it's Quercus rubber, which I really like. So Sauternes, I have, but it's young. So it won't be ready for a long time. And it might be, I don't even have plans for where it'll go. And Tokai, none. I don't have any. So I'm not saying never, just I don't have.
I mean, I know some of your colleagues in Tucson and at Del Bac have
Yeah.
have some Sauternes cask, and they are still sitting there. And the reply I got was not ready yet, and it's been in there for 5 years.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. That's my experience. I don't want to send it out into the world before it's ready. So.
Right.
Is Tio
Yeah.
Pepe is a region or bodega?
It's a specific producer, Gonzalez Bias. And so it is from the Fino
So
Palomino grape. So it is a Fino style sherry just specific to them.
I noticed that just about every single barrel I've had of yours, at least I have more single barrels of your cuvee cask than any person should. But they're all about the same ABV. How do you, because you don't dilute them, you put them out of cask strength. How are they always like 56.2, like on the dot every time? It's great.
Yeah, there were three that I picked, and the funniest thing was they were all 59.2 and they were all
That's what it
SDRs.
was.
And I was
Yeah.
like, yep, yep. So one was actually 59.5, and we just used the 59.2.
Mm.
So because it's an allowable difference, and one was I think 59.1. Yeah, they're very close. It's funny, but they
I
were
could taste the
all
difference. I knew you were lying to me. That's what it was. And that's it.
super close. Yeah. Yeah, that's after aging 8 to 9 years. Typically, that's the ABV we're getting, that
Wow.
59%.
And it
So,
goes down the further you age, or does it go up as
yeah, ABV keeps going down. I've had three casks in my entire decade, pulling samples that had proof rise.
wow.
Three. Yeah, and they were in a very specific area of the cask house where they were getting more airflow and they were higher and they were on the side with the sun beating down the most. So typically we have a lot of sensors placed around. So I'm being a geek, I'm tracking things like thermal banding, humidity pockets. I can see spikes of ABV in the air, so I'm predictive enough with that data that I can identify leaks.
Wow.
Um, and yeah, it's fascinating to see the humidity. We have microclimates, so if you're standing in the same cask house a yard from someone else, you might be experiencing a different temperature and different airflow. It might feel stuffier, more humid, or you might feel like a little chill and breeze. It's crazy. We have two metal clad cask houses. They each hold 6,000 casks at capacity, and we now palletize in there, very little racking. So it's yeah,
So
it's
how many
crazy.
casts do you have on site you're responsible for?
I have about 8,500 right now. Yep.
You're busy every day.
I am. I have an incredible colleague. His name is Brian Hersey, and he is our cellar and warehouse manager. So he does the forklifting for me. And if I travel and I'm on the road, I give him a calendar for his week with water reductions and circulations and all of that. So he does a lot of manual labor for me when I'm gone, and I could not do without him.
Did you say, I'm sorry if I should know this, Amanda, but do you do the slow dilution?
Yes, I do. Yeah, it's again Nancy Fraley. She's all about slow waterproofing or slow water reduction. So, and my time in France, they kind of grilled this into us. So, there are plenty of distilleries out there that actually add water now to their casks as the whiskey's aging, especially in hotter, more arid environments. Thankfully, with my humid climate, I have some of that work done for me. But I have been known to take over a year to reduce a whiskey down to where I want it to be for bottling strength. And the idea is you kind of shock the whiskey and cause a chemical reaction when you add a lot of water. And if you add all the water all at once, there can be things that are broken out of solution that don't necessarily ever come back. So if you've ever had a whiskey and thought, this is really flabby and watery or angular, one of the reasons could be saponification, and that's that results. So I do an average of 1% water reduction, ABV part, a week on Wednesdays usually. And I might even skip a week if I have enough time. So it's landing a plane very, very slowly, bringing it down. But that gives me time to blend and make adjustments while there's reduction too. So I'm geeky about it. That's something that, I learned from Nancy, and yeah, it's in my DNA now.
Do you do that for all of the casks or only the casks that you're putting out at a lower ABV, not the casks you're putting out as single cask strength ones?
Yeah, single casks I don't dilute. I might feel like this is going to open up with a tiny bit of water, and I want to make sure that happens or does show better at a slightly lower BV, but I never bring it down more than a point if it's a single cask. It is
Gotcha.
very close to natural cask strength.
And
So,
your Courage Club exclusives are all single casks, or they're like small batches?
oh, those are small batch, sometimes single casks, and I have locked them in at 56% ABV. So 112 proof. They are high. I like it that way. It's just a couple points down, but I like the time to really blend and get it to open up a little bit in advance. And yeah, that's part of my technique for that particular line. So
So if
definitely
you
does well with more water. Go ahead.
if you had to pick a single cast journey and monitoring that or blending, what is your thing? What do you like better?
Oh, that's so hard. I think I would choose blending because with single casks, it's not linear for me. So I have windows where the casts show really beautifully, and that's a big part of my job of like monitoring and making sure that I dump the casks or vat them at the right season when they're showing their best. But sometimes it is going to be you know what, this window's closing, I'm going to wait until the spring.
Okay.
And so in that case, it is what it is, but I love single casks because like,
Hmm.
what an authentic
Yeah.
experience just seeing what happened
Yeah.
between the perfect fit of distillate going into barrel.
Hmm.
But blending is so much fun too because you can create so much more flavor and you can enhance mouthfeel and yeah, there's so much more
Hmm.
freedom, I think, with that too and creativity. But that was a
Pretty
hard
even. Pretty.
question.
Yeah. I want to test you a little bit. You're doing good.
Love it.
Amanda, back to the slow dilution piece because we do not do that.
Mhm.
Um, for reasons, but I know why you guys do it and it's awesome. Have you done a side by side of
Yeah.
like with slow dilution and not? And I'm super curious on how that, because obviously you don't have sponification, you don't have flock in there, but what does it do to the flavor when you compare side by side?
Yeah. I get first on the mouthfeel. That's the first place I can tell a bit of a difference for me. It is time consuming and time is money, so it's a really big luxury to have. I started out doing my slow reductions by taking over, we have 8 fermentation tanks, we call them the washbacks, and I took over one, then I took over two, then I took over four. And it got to be a problem for the distillers. They were very nice about it. They never complained, but the extra work they had to do to cycle through quickly was getting out of hand. So I had designed as like a dream a vatting house where I had massive tanks where I could do these reductions. And so they built it for me in 2020 and I moved in. And so I have 9 very big tanks and 3 smaller, medium ones, and then I have a handful of mega tainers that I can do for my small batches in there. So it's crazy, it's ridiculous, it's whiskey musical chairs still, but it gives me time to do that. And so that's when I really began the trials of now I've got time to go as long as I want and really be crazy about this. So
Okay.
it's enough. Yeah, everybody, I have a sensory panel. And it's a handful of people who have really great palates and sensitivity to different things. So I've got them on and I'll do triangle tests with them all the time. And so far, pretty much all the time, they can catch it if it's been quickly reduced or not.
So I will admit, I honestly was imagining Brian walking around with like a pitcher going to all these palletized barrels. And I was like, that really? Like, I love Brian. He's
3,000.
great, but really? So it makes sense to me that you're in a vatting tank and you're doing it over time. Makes
Yes.
much more sense.
And we
And
have hookups. So it's actually inside the batting house, which you guys have to come visit. And I think you've been in there, but I have every one of those tanks is interconnected. So I can send the whiskey from one tank to the other. And then I have a final line running outside the batting house onto a holding tank inside our bottling house. So the bottling crew can send me a message on the walkie-talkie or on Teams, which we use, saying, "Hey, we're ready for this now." And I can literally just turn 2 levers, send whatever they need to bottle over, they take a final ABV and it's on the line, ready to run. It's so convenient. For water, if it's a decent size reduction, in the past when we didn't have everything connected, which the fermentation tanks were easily done with the hose. But we would fill an IBC tote with water, measure out, get the math right, and gravity feed it into the tank. So Brian would help me with that.
This is still really nice, and I'm already jealous of your bottling line. We've talked about this. I'm also jealous of the vatting house. Anyway, that's
It's
all.
a dream.
That's me.
Yeah. Yep. I have a picture of the tanks coming into the batting house for the first time. And it's me and my colleague Brad just hugging them. I was so happy. And then my next favorite picture is we have our owner, George Moore, passed away and his son kind of took over. And so he's our CEO. And he has two dogs named Courage and Conviction. And they came in as puppies and were playing around. And I have just Brian holding the puppies, looking really happy with the tanks behind him. And that's my idea of whiskey heaven right there. Okay, are we
Have you
ready
guys
to?
found the other mouse I left in the warehouse for you?
Marion did. Marion Cunningham is our distiller, and she found it, and I think it's living on her desk now. So I've got one on my desk, one on hers. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So next up is a whiskey that is a very limited release that we mostly keep at our visitor center. It's called Double Cask Reserve, and it's whiskey that has aged roughly 50% in ex-bourbon barrels, 45% in cuvee or STR casks. So I know that Vadim has been a fan of the Cavalon Distillery. He snuck me a really great sample of their Solo Espino Barrique. So this is kind of that same story. Jim Swan was working with the distillery in Taiwan and put in a big order for used bourbon barrels and was told you're gonna have to wait over a year because Speyside has got you beat and you're just gonna have to wait. So he didn't want to wait. He started working with local wineries or cooperages in Portugal and Spain, and they created this new cask type that in the industry is called STR for shave, toast, char, and repair or recooper. It kind of over time the language got mixed a bit. So some people say shave, toast, rechar. Wine casks are traditionally toasted, not charred. So we went with cuvee. First run of a premium red wine. Doesn't have any, it's also alliterative. Courage and Conviction Cuvée Cask was fun for us. But the idea here is like it's our milk and cookies whiskey, taking two things that really mesh beautifully. And so it's delicate, nuanced, layered. I love the red fruit being balanced out by the wood sugars and tannins because in these casks, what happens is the premium red wine is taken out. They shave the inner staves 3 to 5 millimeters, then toast with indirect heat, then do a light char and then recooper. Most places these days don't disassemble and do it stave by stave like they first did. Now they have a machine that goes in and scrapes and kind of rotates the cask. So that's what we do. And I love these casks. So yeah, very easy drinker, very approachable, but it still has that harmony of the malts and the casks.
Amanda, I'm confused. You said double cask reserve.
Hmm.
I don't see anything like that in front of me.
Oh,
Courage and Conviction.
the courage and
Sorry.
conviction one.
Okay, all
Yep.
right.
My bad.
Uh, it's all
Yeah,
right.
this is the only whiskey that I'm sharing with you tonight from our Courage and Conviction line. And that's all
Okay,
that primary maturation going in, no finishing.
thank you.
Yeah.
This is the perfect dram for us to raise a glass and say thank you to Amanda. Everyone keeps reminding me to make sure I take a photo this time. Anna's like, I'm here. Make sure you take the photo.
We
Yay.
have
It's
one more
approved.
dram. We have one more dram.
I know, I know. So before we get to the last one, let's all have fun. Everyone raise a glass. Adam, get on camera. There we go. Raise a glass. Everyone say cheers and just smile for just a second.
Sanjiva.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Fun.
Amanda, thank you so much for spending the evening with us. We're not done. We're not kicking you out, but I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure I do this before I forget because the last few times I've gotten caught up and had so much fun that I'm like, wait, oh shit, forgot to take a photo. What does
Awesome.
everybody think of this pour? What, you want some of this? She's too young.
Oh,
I put it in the chat that this was the very first bottle I bought because of the tasting.
oh, that's awesome. That's very cool.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of the brand just from the first tasting we did because I'd never heard of you guys before we did the tasting. And then afterwards, I'm like, I must own all of them. Oh, shit. So,
Yay. Yeah, it's a little higher ABV, 48%. Ah, I love the notes. Buttered, salty popcorn with peppercorns. Yeah, I get ginger cookies. That ginger note really is there for me on the finish.
With the ginger, it's not just the spice, it's also the sweetness of ginger. It's both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for
A good
sure.
molasses
And
cookie.
of course, that's the one from the distillery, so we can't buy that one.
It might be.
I think I've seen it out
Um,
here. This is
Have
yeah,
your
you?
new. This is your new double cask, right? This is.
yeah. There's a chance that it might be in California or we could ship it.
What
But
do you?
yeah, it was a pretty limited release.
Probably not in Oregon. Oregon's tough.
Yeah, it's not in Oregon. I know that. I think in Oregon it's just
Yeah.
our port cider cab and maybe the Blue Ridge, to
So
my knowledge.
so much of whiskeys do not make Oregon. They are really, really tight because it's government controlled.
Right.
It's horrible.
But you have such great whiskey places like Multnomah and Scotch Lodge.
I think
All kinds.
Amanda from Virginia would know a thing or two about government-controlled states.
Yes.
Yeah,
We're a
yeah.
control state, Virginia ABC, so I don't even get like liquor stores to play with. It's just Virginia
Uh,
ABC stores. And our visitor center has to be licensed as a Virginia ABC store, so we're store 016. And traditionally, at the end of every month, you send a check for the full amount of all the whiskey profit, everything. And they hold it and they give you a small percentage back at their convenience. You pay to keep the lights on, to hire the staff to make everything, and the state just profits.
yikes.
It's painful. It's incredibly painful.
Amanda, real quick, is it the double cask reserve or the cuvee?
This is the double cask reserve, so a little higher ABV, 48%, but it is comprised of the cuvee cask mixed in with the bourbon cask aged whiskey. So a little higher ABV and a little bit older.
It's available on Whiskey Searchers. That's good.
Hey. Yeah, so this
I'm,
is
I'm
another
gonna
one I
toss
would,
a link to the in the chat for this one on your website. Just make sure this
cool.
is the right one. Is this the one we're
Yeah,
tasting? Okay,
that's the one. Perfect.
cool.
And yeah,
I
you
think
should
my
pair.
first introduction to Virginia distilling was I was in, I think, Reston, and
Oh,
I went into a local shop and I found a 375 milliliter bottle of something, and this was
yeah.
ages ago, and
Yes.
it was probably when you were teaspooning or something. Anyway,
Yes, that would have been probably either our porter cider cask. Those were the two, or we did a Chardonnay for a very limited release in 375.
but
Would
it was
probably.
yeah, but it was I actually really enjoyed it. I mean, a total guess on my part. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm in Virginia, I'm going to buy this. And I was really happy with it, but my first introduction to what you're doing today was when Jane said, "Kate, you gotta try the Courage and Conviction Cuvée cask."
Oh.
And then we bought it one and split it, and I was just like, "Oh my God, this is so amazing." I better not drink it, because I better I better not to drink it too much, and I'm only gonna bring it out if a really good person comes to my door. And anyway, I'm not doing that anymore. So I'm drinking them. When I get them, I drink them. So I'm gonna buy another one and drink it.
That's awesome. I'm so
Amanda,
glad. Well, I
um,
feel, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Desert Island, you're going. What bottle are you taking?
Of
What's your
my own
favorite?
whiskey?
Yep.
Oh, man. That is such a good question. There are days when I would choose the double cask reserve. Yeah. Today, probably Fino Sherry cask.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been speaking to me a lot lately. That's really hard. I get very attached.
And is there another whiskey that has to go too? Not in your distillery that you absolutely
Yeah.
love?
Yeah. I, the Cuvée cast does really speak to me a lot. The port's fun. So the port cask whiskey is my curl up with a good film noir. I just want to have a nice evening in and watch Casablanca or, Maltese Falcon. I'm going to be drinking the port cask finish. So I have a pairing. Yeah,
Cool.
that's it. Yeah, which is my favorite child. So hard. I'm gonna end on such a weird whiskey. I hope I made the right choice. It's one of the craziest ones. This is our Brewers Coalition. So I started doing trading with local breweries in 2015, and we did some very small limited releases that were a lot of fun. And I had never done a bottled in bond and thought, well, that would be kind of a cool, different thing to do. And we have a lot of ties to Goose Island. Um, our supply chain director came from there, and we're tight with them. So we go over and visit, and they're actually headed our way. August 5th, they'll all be on site. And they kind of did this route of the first bourbon barrel aged imperial stout. And they learned the hard way how to do barrel maintenance and take good care of it. And so when I was talking about my concerns doing this and how I need the casks maintained, they're like, oh, we got you. We understand. So I took whiskey, already aged in ex bourbon barrels, and moved it in for 10 months into these Bourbon County Stout barrels that these particular ones came from Four Roses in Heaven Hill, and they had held the Imperial Stout for a year. And it's just so silky and decadent. I get like roasted coffee notes. And I have done some riffs on like an espresso martini with this. And I was gutsy and didn't want to really filter it. So I did a very light 5 micron filter on it and was like, it's going to be just decadent. And that's all I ever do, just wanting to let the whiskey shine. And so, yeah, kind of crazy. What do you guys think?
I'm getting a lot of
Really
hope
fun.
for stout.
Really fun.
How did you
Good.
call this a bottle and bond? Was it 4 years in your own warehouse, and then how did you transfer it to another warehouse while still being bottled and bond?
So it's all from the same warehouse, the distillate. So age 6 years in our cask houses, cask house number one from the same distilling season, same distiller.
Mm,
And so they were grouped together, vatted, and moved directly into these casks when they arrived,
mm.
and then moved right back into that warehouse. So, yep, whole time we filed it, and they were like, "Yeah, that works." So we brought it down to 100 proof. There it is, and it's something you probably won't see from us very often because I like having a variety of different seasons to work with. It really is restricting, but I felt so good about this particular season of casks and everything. So, yeah. Oh, you ran into this 3 days ago and grabbed it. That's insane.
I've had a bottle of this and a couple of the gingerbread stout in my K&L cart for 4 months. Jason Souter did a little advent calendar in the middle of the year thing a couple
Oh,
of months back, and that was one of the bottles was the gingerbread. And I saw on your website that you had two stouts, and I'm like, gimme, 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 gimme. So this is so fantastic. I mean, it's everything I could have actually ever wanted from a stout finish. It's so,
wow.
I mean, the mouthfeel is incredibly silky, really velvety, and the flavor is so unique. It's got that weird uh, beer mushroomy note
Yes.
on the nose that
Earthy.
bursts into the coffee and the chocolate. I mean, this is just delicious.
Oh, I'm so
Huge,
glad.
huge
I
fan.
I think malts and barley, like they just it's the connecting factor,
Yeah.
for the beer and for us. And I have a handful of crazies. So I do have the sexual chocolate and the
Yeah, I was
proper
gonna say,
pour.
you sent us Goose Island over sexual chocolate. I'm insulted.
Well, I think of that as East Coast. So goodness.
Just the
The
name alone,
after
Jason was like, they have a sexual chocolate. I bought it just on the name alone.
Well, and a part of the proceeds go to food pantries for North Carolina Hurricane Helene relief. We
Oh,
sent our
nice.
team down there. We delivered water. We got really attached to the people.
You
Wait,
have to explain
wait.
that name
You
though.
del you delivered water and you didn't deliver whiskey? Come on,
We did. We
people
did
were
deliver
hurt.
some whiskey, but not to as many people. We brought it to, we were
When
working
people are
actually.
dehydrated and don't have water, I think they want water.
Well, we were working with Foothills, the brewery that makes the sexual chocolate beer. And so, yeah, that was kind of the natural connection. We gave them some of our whiskey. They gave me some beer as a thank you. And I was like, what else can we do? So I did not pick the name for this, but it is the beer partnership that we have. And it feels so good to be giving back. And it's different. It's almost like banana fudge sundae. it's very different. You do get the beer characteristic. It's just so different. So like the Hardywood gingerbread stout, it's apricot and yes, the ginger and the honey. Yeah, and I'm working on two more right now. So it's crazy, but beer is fun and I like it because it can be an undercurrent to our whiskey and they play with each other really well, in my opinion.
Amanda, stop making so much amazing whiskey. Not one of these was bad. This is ridiculous.
Thank
Stop.
you. Westland makes an incredible beer cask whiskey as well. So I'm a huge fan of that. I
Hmm.
have a little bit of it left. It's so good. Yeah.
I wish you all the best of luck in this upcoming poll.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
goodness.
this is gonna be
I'm gonna get some hate mail today. I know.
Yeah, I was gonna say I put it in the comment, but I need to say it out loud. I need a beer and whiskey combo pack for everything. Seriously, I really want to try the beer that became this whiskey.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
Yeah, that would be good.
if they do the big bottles of beer, a big bottle of beer with the bottle of whiskey, I would be such a happy camper.
Yes.
I think that's a great Christmas idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little
Serious.
app. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like a six pack of the beer with the bottle of the
Oh,
whiskey.
a big bottle, like the half-liter bottle, and a
Yeah.
750 of
Yeah,
whiskey.
just the one big bottle of, like the big growler almost.
Or that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just easier for shipping purposes, and it's a one box, and there you go. And proceeds to help everyone.
I think we need
Oh.
to help you with your marketing, Amanda. 'Cause-
I'm here for it. Also love Adam's comment. I love Vino de Noronha. Yeah, I think that could be
It's
a lot
so
of
good.
fun.
Starlight did a rye finished in it, which was the first
Mm.
time I had it. And the Starlight rye in the VDM barrel is just so good. And I've seen
Yeah.
American single malt finished in VDN. I have not yet to see a peated American single malt finished in VDN, and I want it so bad.
Wait, Adam, are you talking about the pick we did? That was a Vino de Naranja barrel.
Which one?
Was that our
I
pick that
think
you
that
had?
was, I
Oh,
think
no, I
that
mean,
was before Adam.
I've had multiple VDN
Oh,
picks
okay.
from Starlight.
Okay.
They're all good.
All right. You were supposed to say no. It's only your pick. Your pick's the best ever.
So I guess I'm the only one that didn't necessarily care for the stout cask. I thought it's very sour.
No, you were the only one, dude. It was delicious.
Yeah, you should feel weird about
Just
yourself.
you.
I am weird, so I'm
You're
okay
you're
with
the outsider,
You know
bro.
what,
It
Henrik?
was
More
delicious.
for me.
No, nobody
More-
perfect.
and the thing is,
Nobody
I'm
perfect.
I'm a big fan of stouts.
Wow.
No worries. We have different styles with our stout cask finishes. So yeah, some of ours, like I'm working on one right now with Central Waters. They're black gold, the actual Fat Elvis release. And that one's almost hoppy. It's so different. So it's really cool to just see how varied they can be.
I bet you that's good too, though. I mean, I think the hoppy would be a great combo with
If
your.
that's okay with your palate, if you're okay with a little bit of IBUs, people love it. Yeah, it's just finding that.
Oh, it's the bitter hoppy, not the floral hoppy.
It is more floral and vegetal, but yeah, some people I've noticed their palate is like their brain tricks them into what they expect. So it's always fascinating.
All right, so the polls are in. This is the first poll we've had where 100% of the people have voted. This is amazing. You've kept
Wow.
everyone's attention. This is kudos to you. You get to guess, what do you think was the favorite bottle of the night?
No. I have no idea. Maybe the pork cask?
It's a good guess. It's a good guess. But just to show that Henrik is not the only one, the results are in, and 100% of the people have voted. And my favorite bottle of the night is three-way tie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
The cab, the
Three-way
port,
It's a very
and
tie.
the
good song.
stout.
Amazing.
It was a tough
That's
pick. It really was.
incredible.
As I always say, it would be boring if we all drank the same stuff.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
And I bet you if I put in all of the above, that would have been the number one pick for 100%.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have picked it all of the above.
Yep.
That's awesome though. That's kind of my goal. I would hate it if everybody picked the exact same one. And yeah.
Even though I didn't vote for it, I'm a little disappointed that what was the one that got no votes?
Blue
That
Ridge.
makes sense. The Blue Ridge.
Blue
Because
Ridge, yeah.
I think for everybody's palate, like that's such a great entry one. So if you're coming from the bourbon world and you're not familiar or like used to a bunch of stuff, that seems to be where people gravitate and say that's their
So
favorite.
that's why me
Otherwise,
as a wine guy kind of liked it, even though I
well,
didn't vote for it, but I did kind of like it.
Oh, I
yeah,
liked it too. I think the other ones had a little more complexity. That one was very entry level, like
yes.
easy to
Yeah.
drink, nice and sweet, but it kind of, at this point for a lot of the drinkers in the room here, we're looking for something interesting and kind of
Yes.
off the beaten
Well,
path.
they were all, as far as I'm concerned, they were all interesting. They
Yes.
were really
Well,
good.
thanks.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but you nailed it. Like that's actually my goal for Blue Ridge. It was to make something really approachable, really accessible for the entry drinkers. So yeah, knowing where your palates are, it makes a lot of sense that you wanted something more complex.
I can see this one like the Blue Ridge in a highball or just
Yeah.
like I can't see anyone if I knew that somebody was just getting into whiskey, any kind of whiskey or just like a beginner of any I can't see anyone being like, no, I don't like it. It's kind of this one. This to me
Mm.
is like to compare it to another American distiller is like Lineage from Balcones. Just a
Oh,
very
yeah,
easy, everyone's gonna love it no matter what. Like it's fantastic.
totally see that. Yeah. I loved getting the results. That was fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, Amanda, just like what everybody said, there wasn't a single bad one. But what's impressive is they all looked like they all, I guess I should say, tasted like cousins,
Mm.
but also different in their own way, which is super impressive. Like you can tell, there is some connection between them. Yet, with your finishing and your changes, they were different enough. So a lot of times I notice with distilleries, kind of you can tell it's the same distillery in here, even though you can, but they took a new form. And that actually is a testament to your skill. So awesome work.
That means so much to me. That's like my absolute goal. Thank you.
I'll agree with Rita. There is a clear line through everything that it's all from the same distillery, yet nothing tastes like anything else, which is half
Awesome.
the fun. I mean, I said something earlier in the chat. That's got to be like half the fun of your job is just being able to do the wild and crazy, try something new and see what happens.
Which
Yeah.
why we all want to taste, the part way things that,
So that said, let's do a show of hands. How many people are in for round two? Yes, yes. If I see any hands down, you're out of the group. All right, good. All right, Amanda, I think the people have spoken. We may have to twist your arm to get you back more often than once every couple of years.
Sounds like a plan.
I,
and
I think I think maybe in our future there will be a lineup that's all peated. Regular peated in sherry, peated in port.
Yes, bring it.
We'll circulate a
No,
petition.
you have to bring it.
Fair.
I think, as everyone else has said, it's one of the things that I found for myself is when I make like cocktails at home, they tend to kind of all be in the same family after a while. Like you walk into a brewery and you're like, oh, this brewer likes making IPAs. So even as blonde is a little peaty, like or like hoppy, it's a compliment to your skill that there is a through line that they're sweet and spicy, they're fruity and spicy, like you said, but they're so different. They're so like the to what exactly what Henrik said of like, oh, I don't love this one, I like the other one more. It's it takes a lot of skill to do. Like doing a random pattern is actually the hardest thing ever, rather than like doing like a symmetrical pattern. My
Yeah.
brain works where like I try to do randomness and I can't. So making something that from the same ingredients tastes different from the other stuff you made is that to me that's super hard and like really well done.
Thank you.
but I
And just
also
to make the mouth feel and the finish and everything all across the board, even though the flavors may not be exactly what you like, you still have that quality. It tastes like quality whiskey. It doesn't taste
Mm.
crappy and leave you hanging and like you just had some water washed out from a whiskey cup. It's all of it is really locked on. You did a really good job. So good job, girl.
Thank
right.
you so
Yeah,
much.
I think it
yeah, and
also
it doesn't
speaks to
oh, go ahead.
the basic, your base, right?
Mhm.
Your base, your 5 years, whiskey that it's that you're able to complement it with so many other diverse flavors. So just the base whiskey, you've done some magic right there, right? Because you're able to pair it with a hoppy beer, a stout, a Cabernet, a cider, etc. I think there's some magic in the base that you're able to do that. So I don't know what that is, other than maybe Amanda Beckwith magic.
Very kind.
But yeah,
Director
great.
of Liquid Magic, remember?
Well, she's earned her title for sure.
I just went back to the Courage and Conviction, or the double barrel.
Mhm.
Oh my God, it's good. God damn, it's good. Mm.
Yeah, it's like buttery and malty and just all the shit you like in something that makes you feel really good. That's why we like whiskey.
Awesome.
One that's changing the most is the stout. The stout now after 10-15 minutes is different drum.
Yeah.
Damn you, Amanda. I have to go spend some money on that freaking site now.
It's such a dangerous world. Yeah, when you just see how many flavors can happen.
Well, I
Yeah.
have a couple American single malts on my shelf. Like I say, I'm an Isla girl through and through, but
Yeah.
I was impressed and I have to buy a couple of these. So very, very nicely done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all for sharing the single malt love too. It's a great category to
So
be in.
I have become in love with American single malts. I think we owe it, number one, to America, and number two to the in the things that people do that just change it. It's just different. American single malts just totally have captured me. So
Yeah.
Westland and Westward, and then moving on to other areas.
Yeah.
ASMs are great.
Thank you. There's so much room for creativity and quality in
Yes.
ASMs. Yeah. Scotland's fantastic, but they're so small regionally and they're pretty handcuffed these days. So we have a lot of amazing things happening here.
And I see some of your colleagues on your back shelf. That's very impressive.
Yes. Oh,
We
I'm a
tasted
huge
Old
fan.
Line recently based on your recommendation. I think everybody enjoyed that as well.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. We've heard
And
of
can I,
Westland. They're interesting. Anyone here want to
I'm a
do a
huge
Westland tasting anytime soon? Where's she at?
my hand.
So,
A
so
little
Amanda,
foreshadowing.
and
I'm
Just
can I
don't
just
live out.
say,
Just don't leave out Westward. Okay.
Okay. All right. We just did a Westward. Yeah.
so
Yeah, I
Amanda,
know.
I'm far more discerning about American single malts than Jim is. And because I'm not in love with a lot of American single malts, but there
Hmm.
are two that I like and that I could say that I actually love. You are one of the two. And
Wow.
I'm gonna let you all guess what the second one is, but we won't say it here until the recording is off.
Okay.
I think Anne knows.
Oh, well, don't hesitate to keep trying. And it's always fascinating to see the creativity.
Yeah.
It's so cool. It's an
and
honor to be part of the category. And now that it's official, like history has been made.
and can I just make a comment, and please don't bring this to your revenue guys. I mean,
Okay.
the pricing on this. I mean,
We hear
it
it's
it
too low a
it,
lot.
it is it's a. I mean, you can't complain about that. You're almost giving it away, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
I don't think any of us would have minded if the price of these were a little higher than what they are, because
Why would you say that?
the quality there is there. You know,
Thank
Don't
as I
say
you.
said,
that. Then you can
Vadim,
buy
no,
two
Vadim,
easier.
please edit the video. Vadim, please edit the video.
It
no,
just
but
makes you want to
but
buy
I think
two because you're saving so
sometimes,
much
right? I mean,
money.
it's people sometimes forget to include the price point when you, oh, this is a great whiskey. Yeah, but if it's $500, is it really worth
Hmm.
$500, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I think none of these is kind of like, because I mean, and I'll be honest, we've done tastings where, oh, this is really good. It's not that good. I mean, here this
Yeah.
is no brainer.
Thank you.
So
We
so
fought
so
really hard
good
to get
work.
these prices. It was a 2 year battle to make it as affordable and approachable as possible.
You know what? I was going to point it out that your prices have noticeably gone down, and I think this was a discussion we've had last time we spoke. And
Yeah.
I've talked to you. I've talked to a lot of people in the industry of like American single malts are just they're not compared
Not
to like
cheap, right?
comparable other malt from another country.
Yeah.
Just
Corn, rye,
Yeah,
using a column still, it's all cheaper and easier.
yeah.
And
You guys have done a
honestly,
fantastic job.
thank you. We made a bunch of decisions, and part of it was focusing on some bulk clients in Asia in order to hit this. So like South Korea, if we made this
I remember
profit, we
that
would be
palette.
able to, yeah, yeah, we'd be able to hit these prices for the US consumer. That was really important.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
So,
Yeah.
but
I
why?
feel
So why?
validated.
Why is it outside of Virginia? It's more expensive than if you're in Virginia.
It shouldn't be. We try really hard to control that, but because the
Well,
way the three-tier system works, we lose some say.
it no,
Uh,
because when you're on your website, even are you in
oh,
Virginia or are
that's
you
the
outside of Virginia?
yeah, that's because we ship directly from the visitor center in the state, and then we have to work with a second party legally to ship.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't come from us. If you're in a different state, it's not coming directly from Virginia. It goes to one of our partners, and they handle it, and they charge quite a bit.
Interesting.
Yep. Then there's insurance and all sorts of stuff rolled in.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think Virginia charges a bunch of taxes too, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's not as bad as Washington, but it's bad.
No one can top 21.5% on our booze. So
Oof.
I think Washington was the only place where I went when I was first getting into alcohol. I went to a distillery and they were like, "You live where? Just buy your stuff there. Don't buy it here. Like literally just don't buy it." I'm like, "But I want to." They're like, "Just get it at your local store. It's the same bottle. Get it there. You're gonna save 30%." I'm like, "Okay."
Man.
I
Even
got
the
an
Costco
extra
is
bottle
ridiculous.
of Blue Ridge to send to my sister.
Oh,
Yeah,
lovely. That's fantastic. I
Trying
hope
to
she
teach her
enjoys
to
it.
like whiskey. That's good whiskey.
that is
It's
great.
been helpful to bring people into the fold. So, yeah.
Well then, thank you so much. Any other questions? I know it's almost midnight your time. So if anybody has any other questions, have fun at
How
Tails
come the
next week.
shipping is free to
Thank you.
California?
Sorry, what did you say, Kim?
Shipping is free to California. I'm on the website.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah, no, I am on the website. I put in the double cask and the Goose Island, and I am ready to check out. And shipping is free.
Well, you got to
Yeah.
add the sexual chocolate though. That just for the name alone. Did you see? I added to my cart the Scotch Dummies bourbon single cask. We were just talking about how would this taste without a finish.
Yep.
$60 on their website. Are you
Yep.
kidding me?
That's going to be it. You're going to get to know exactly what our 5 year no finishing, this is the house style. Boom.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
I love getting to hang out with you guys. If you think of questions, like send them my way. I love geeking out, and yeah, I love the idea of sending some new make and 5 year and having some fun down the road with some single casks.
Awesome. Amanda, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Next time you're coming out to LA, please reach out. We'd love to host
Done.
you for something.
Yes.
But all that said, have fun at your future events. We know you're a globetrotter. And thank you for spending the evening with us.
Oh, my
Cheers.
pleasure. Cheers.
Girl power, girl. Way to go. You're all doing an
Thank
awesome
you.
job.